We are Muskegon County at Work, spotlighting workers of local governments throughout our county, revealing what it takes to make our communities comfortable and safe. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Muskegon County Municipalities at Work. Your host here, DJ Hilson, for yet another episode of digging into municipal government so that folks who are watching this have a really better understanding of how their local government might work or how local government in general works. And today, I have to say, is one of the greatest days of my life. I get to have a conversation with my good friend. Some might say my nemesis, but I'll say my good friend, Gary Nelund, who happens to be the mayor of the great city of Norton Shores. Gary.
Yes. Welcome.
Welcome.
I'm here against my will.
Yeah. So, as I always like to start out with my guests, I want you to talk. I know this is going to be hard for you. I want you to talk a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background, what got you to where you are today.
All right. So, born and raised in Norton Shores, lived here my whole life except going away from college. My wife, Angie, is also from Norton Shores. We went to high school together. So, I went away to Kalamazoo College, a whole hour and a half away, and studied political science. And then got a master's degree in public administration across the street at Western Michigan University. And also own a small business in town here, a state farm insurance agency. And been the mayor of Norton Shores since, 2009. This is completing my fourth term coming up here in November. And I am up for re-election in November, which would be 5 terms and even 20 years if I complete that one. So.
Well, obviously, I want to get into the duties of mayor here in just a second, but let's talk about public service for a second, because, obviously, when people decide to run for office, it's a choice. Sometimes folks feel that they're compelled to, others feel the calling. What was it that drew you to this opportunity to become the mayor of Norton Shores?
I obviously love the community. I want to see it succeed. It was in very good shape before I became mayor. I like to say it'll be in very good shape when I'm done. But I was a firm believer in, really mayor. In Norton Shores, the mayor gets paid $200 a month, so we don't do it for the money. It's for the love of the community. And as you know, I've been involved in a lot of volunteer things, United Way, Red Cross, different things. And to me, it's kind of volunteering again. It's almost like being on a nonprofit board, if you will. And I just, there's a lot of people who are sideline, are keyboard warriors nowadays, and it's very easy to sit back and throw sticks and stones. But I always thought that, you got to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So there were a few things, nothing bad, but back in the day, I thought, in 2008, 2009, when I decided to run, that there were a few things that I wanted to see changed, and so I ran.
Yeah, and obviously, there are various elections from national to state to local, but you still have to campaign. Talk a little bit about what it was like and what it is like for you to campaign for this position. Yeah,
it's really, local politics is the closest politics, right? And so, as you know from running, it's a lot of shaking hands and meeting people and bumping into them at the store and bumping into them at meetings and Rotary and, that sort of thing. So it's really just kind of, nowadays interesting, like so much is done on social media, Facebook, those sort of things. But it's just meeting people and talking about it. And, my kids, they're older now, so they wouldn't want to go with me anyways. But back in the day, they said they hated going to Meijer with me because milk and bread turned into an hour conversation, with different people in the store. And the campaigning I've been lucky. I ran in 2009 when I originally ran, and there was a 3-way primary down to 2, and I was able to win that. Then I was unopposed. Last time I had an opponent. We don't spend a lot of money on these campaigns. I spent $39 on my campaign because I needed a few sign holders from signs that I had from years ago. And I guess that worked out. I won 82% of the vote, so I guess $39 was a good investment. But it's just talking to people. It's just caring, right? I mean, it's just really caring and listening, and also at this level of, oh, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't seen whatever the topic is from that perspective. So, instead of maybe some people think that you sort of do what you want to do or promote my agenda, if you will, which I have none. It's more of being a caretaker and just listening to people and saying what should we do, and trying to make. We're nonpartisan, which is great. I wouldn't have run if it were partisan and nonpartisan. So there's no way that you take a national political level kind of perspective on anything. It's just, hey, we need a new park, and I think it would be great if it had, a swing set in it. Oh, okay, well, let's look at that. Those sort of things.
So talk to us about as you indicated, you're a business owner, and obviously you're not getting paid to be mayor necessarily. But what is the day-to-day sort of mayor tasks? When you put your mayor hat on, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, again, it's everywhere you go, you're listening to people. Somebody, hey, wants to talk to you about this. Hey, my neighbor's not raking their leaves. Hey, my road didn't get plowed this winter. Hey, those sort of things. One of the real reasons I ran was I thought it was important for the mayor to be at City Hall, right? And so I am there. I kind of like a college professor. I have office hours. I'm there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mondays and Fridays, 2 to 4. Wednesday mornings, I'm there in the morning. Usually that's gobbled up. I sit in on staff meeting. We have all the department head staff meeting on Wednesday morning, which I want to be a part of. But it's just fielding calls. I mean, I get a lot of the calls of, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. I didn't know who else to call. And I always say, well, that's what I'm here for. That's what we do. And so I interact with the public, of course. But Norton Shores, we're north of 100 employees. And one of the things that I didn't maybe realize was I'm involved in HR stuff, which isn't always fun. So Anthony Chandler is our paid city administrator. He's our full-time administrator, same as the city manager. Our charter calls it administrator. So he's the professional there, every day in, day out. He's the boss on the ground. And so I'm talking to him or emailing and, texting, that sort of thing.
So let's talk about the structure of the city of Norton Shores. As you said, north of 100 employees, which, in Norton Shores is a sizable city here in our great county. And what is it? What has been your experience in the various departments and their function in making sure that the residents of Norton Shores' needs are taken care of?
Yeah, like we do our best job when people don't notice it or aren't complaining, right? So, I'll go back a little bit. So Norton Shores is a relatively young city. 1968, we became a city. Was a township before then. So in 1967-ish, we'll say, a year before, they drew up a charter commission. And that charter set some interesting... We have a hybrid charter in Norton Shores. The mayor is the CEO of the city, is how it's spelled out. The city administrator technically only answers to me, not to city council. I have 8 city council members as well. And then I have the power under the charter to hire and fire department heads, right? So department heads being public works director, fire chief, police chief, finance director, the city administrator, and we do have a city attorney, but that's not really a department head, so to speak. But so it's kind of like CEO of a large company, right? I've got division heads, and I interact with them, and but I don't micromanage. They run their departments, and so I when things are going well, I don't hear anything. When things are going bad, then I hear certain things. So and then you have to make decisions and maybe suggest different ways of doing things.
What, obviously, as mayor, you sort of run the city council meetings, which are monthly.
Yeah.
And as you indicate, you've got 8 city council folks. Over your span of being mayor, what has it been like working with those folks, from differing personalities, maybe some different ideas? How has that been?
We've always, I was just saying this to somebody the other day. So when I started, we just dedicated a couple park benches in Ross Park to two city council members who were on the city council when I started, had been there for years, and both have passed away in the last few years. And when I ran for mayor, which was unique, most people kind of run for city council, then you sort of graduate and run for mayor. I just said, no, why not? Let's just run for mayor. And but I was the new guy, right? Now I'm the one who served the longest on our city council. So people have come and gone. Yeah, there's been different personalities, but I will say, a reporter asked years ago, we don't really come to Norton Shores City Council meetings. They're kind of boring. There's no controversy. She always asks that. Where's the controversy? Why? What? And I said, just because we may pass something 9-0 or 8-1 or 7-2 doesn't mean that we all 100% agree necessarily. We've had a conversation leading up to that decision, and then we vote. But I'm just thankful. Again, I think the nonpartisan is important for that. But we have, just like I have a servant's heart for the city, I think every city council member that has joined is the same thing. I have a running joke that the mayor is so important in Norton Shores that he gets paid 4 times what a council member makes, and they get $50 a month. So so we don't do it for the money, right? You do it for the love of the community. And we've been blessed over the years of having really dedicated individuals, because we meet 3 Tuesday nights a month. We meet at 5:30 at the Norton Shores Branch Library, and in the meetings are, we have 2 technical city council meetings where business is handled, and then we have a work session where we discuss a lot of stuff. And the city council meetings, generally are 30 to 45 minutes. I like to explain to when we have people attending that we're not just running through this stuff really quickly. It may look that way, but we've all had discussions about whatever's on the agenda. And that's where we do it at the work session. But so 30 to 45 minutes for council meetings, and, a work session once in a while will approach 2 hours, but not very often. But so, yeah, we're dedicating 3 Tuesday nights a month, to be there. And so, there's been, a few people have been interested in council over the years and thought, boy, that's a time commitment, right? And it's the same thing. Council is just as important as mayor as far as when you're out in the community, they're having people talk to them and, share their concerns. And so, yeah.
What, as you kind of look over your elected career, what have been some of the bigger accomplishments that you've been proud of that the city has done?
Yeah, I think it has been we are, somewhat lucky in the sense that Herb Fry was a city administrator. I know him by name only, but the comment was made, he had made years ago, the city will do well when it has room to expand, right? And Norton Shores does. We're running out. But, you compare that to urban core cities that, that are built out, it's more difficult to develop because you've got to tear down and you've got to rehab and you've got to do this, that, and the other thing. So, being a former township, we're 24 square miles and, 25,000 residents. And we had, and I'm a firm believer, my wife and I talk about that. I don't want all the blueberry fields, every stand of woods, everything to go away. For the sake of development. But I will say that's not one particular project, but we've been successful in, I think maybe oversimplistically, everything that we decide at the city council level at some point filters back to economic development. And economic development is whether it's the great relationship we have with Mona Shore schools, if it's, housing, if it's actually attracting businesses and retail and those sort of things. All of those kind of go into this big pot. And at the end of the day, all of that spits out, hopefully, benefit for the community as a whole.
As you kind of look into your crystal ball here, what are some of the things you hope to accomplish yet? I mean, are there any big projects or maybe some what people often call as big audacious goals that you have that you would like to see it maybe even give it a shot at?
Yeah, I think that we're I've really been focused on, we a few years ago, we hired a marketing firm and we came up with a tagline for the city, and did a marketing, plan. And we chose "It's in our nature." And so because, and that's, has double meaning on many things, economic development's in our nature, nature's in our nature, all those things. But what I'm most proud of is the natural beauty of Norton Shores, and is to continue that. I mean, we're fortunate to have a state park on the south end, Dune Harbor Park, on the north end, which is a county park, and then Lake Harbor Park, our park in the middle, and then it's just, we are a traditional suburb community, right? We've got, Harvey Street is part of Norton Shores. That's the border between Fruitport and Norton Shores. That is the largest commercial corridor in the county. Norton and Henry, Meijer, Walmart, that sort of stuff, same thing. Those are big commercial corridors. But for the most part, we are residential neighborhoods, and it's how close are you to Lake Michigan? How close are you to Mona Lake, which, is in the center of the city? So I think it's just a continued focus on the amenities for the residents. And, our mark of success is when our city council meetings aren't very well attended. Sometimes they're not attended at all. The way we sit in a kind of a U shape, and at the back are the two chiefs, the fire chief and the police chief. And sometimes I'm looking just at them directly with no audience in the middle. And I like, maybe egotistically, I like to think that we're doing a great job so people don't come and they don't have complaints. And that's the mark that we're doing a good job, right? So, I give second grade tours every year to different churches, different school groups. And one of the things that the second graders are great. They're full of energy. It's two of my favorite days of the year as mayor. And I ask these kids, I always raise your hand, who brushed your teeth today, and thankfully most of them do. But I say, imagine, you brush your teeth, you got a mouthful of toothpaste, and you spit it out, and you turn that faucet on to rinse, and nothing comes out. What do you do now? Or you go to the bathroom and you flush the toilet, and nothing happens. I said, the things that the city does are not that exciting, but it's water, it's sewer, it's paved roads, it's hopefully you don't have an interaction with police or fire, but they're there in case something happens. So we do our mark of success is doing all the behind the scenes things and doing them well. And we have a great top to bottom, the city staff is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I think what people don't recognize sometimes and realize is that, city council and mayor, they serve a very important role. Obviously making sure there's a flow of business, if you will, but it's those essential government services really that I would assume is one of your top priorities. Yeah. As a unit of government, is making sure the right people are in the right places and those services are functioning the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, right. And and that's what, the city council, is really policy driven. I mean, we okay the budget, we discuss the budget, that sort of stuff. So expenditures, do we need a new fire truck? Do we need a new snowplow? Do we need a new, piece of equipment in one of our parks? Those are the decisions that we make, and then we rely upon those who have either worked in the field for, decades or have gone to college for that, but we rely on the subject matter experts in each department. I interact obviously a lot with all of our departments, but I don't pretend to be a fire chief. I certainly don't pretend to be the police chief, those sort of things. Our public works director, he's an engineer by training, and the stuff that they get involved in, was over my head, to be honest with you. So yeah, we sort of make the policies, if you will, and then we let them go out and do the thing. So we try to provide them with, both the people power and the equipment that they need to do the job that the residents expect.
Now, you mentioned a little bit this in the beginning. I want you to expand on it because, how I know you very well, outside of your excellence as mayor, is your visibility in the community, even beyond the borders of Norton Shores. Talk to me a little bit about that. Why is that important to you?
Well, I mean, we're all one community, right? I mean, it is, you driving from your office downtown today, drove from a city to another city, and there are no border checks, right? Don't get your passport stamped that you've now left Muskegon and entered Roosevelt Park or Norton Shores or whatever it is. And more, especially from an economic level, the communities, although I've been a huge promoter of Norton Shores, and I tell people all the time, I'm first and foremost, I'm the mayor of Norton Shores. So Norton Shores is my number one priority. It's Muskegon, right? It's Muskegon County. We're all just as good as our neighbors are. And economically, things are progressing expense-wise. I mean, fire trucks are now over $1 million and different things like that. We work together. Municipalities work very well together in this community. And some people don't think that. We do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, be it the wastewater system or 911 or, a lot of things that we, Norton Shores provides fire service for Roosevelt Park and, those sort of things. So, but we have to work together, right? And we all get along. That's the great thing too. I mean, I think all of the municipal leaders, the elected mayors and city managers get together for dinner every other month, right? And sometimes we have more of a formal agenda, but for the most part, it's just social. And each community hosts, so you get to go to a restaurant or a facility in each community. And it's just, everything's relationships, right? And the more we know about each other and can feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling somebody. And I think we've got, as a community, you've got, if you want to live in the south part of Norton Shores and have horses, which we allow, you can do that. And if you want to live in downtown in a mini high rise, I'll call it, you can do that. Or if you want to live, out on 50 acres somewhere, you can do that. So, so I think the beauty is not us being separate communities, but it's each community has its own unique thing to offer. And those are appeal to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I would agree that, if people think there are silos amongst the various communities, if there ever were such a thing, those certainly have disintegrated over time because almost sometimes out of necessity, but in the same token, we're big enough, but we're small enough as a county that we all care about the success and worry about the failures of everybody. Yeah.
And I think that, like I said earlier, I first and foremost, Norton Shores. I'm going to promote Norton Shores, but that doesn't preclude me from, enjoying the amenities in a neighboring community. And that's not only Muskegon County. I mean, Norton Shores goes to the Ottawa County line. So, we interact a lot with Spring Lake Township in northern Ottawa County. And so both from municipal perspective and then our residents are moving back and forth for jobs and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think, maybe a decade ago, there was more of a kind of the silos up, that sort of thing. I think there was some aggressive, maybe not so much getting along. It was promoting one community at the expense of others, but that's in the past now. And it hasn't felt this comfortable to me. I mean, for the last few years, it's been great relationships.
Any challenges? I mean, have you? I mean, foresee any challenges coming up, or challenges that you've been able to conquer?
Yeah, the constant thing for us is revenue, right? I mean, there's just never, and we're in Norton Shores, certainly myself personally, we're not pro-tax. We're not, we've got a low millage rate comparatively to our neighboring communities. We benefit from the fact that Norton Shores has the highest SEV, highest state equalized value of any community in Muskegon County, right? So we generate some revenue from that, but things have just, between what it costs for personnel and, like everybody else, even in but it's personnel, healthcare, equipment, police cars and snow plows and all those sort of things have gotten really expensive. And those things, inflation can go up, as high as it wants to. but we have a millage rate that's tied to property values and in the Headley Amendment and Proposal A and all that sort of stuff. They limit how much that can go up. And not to say that, boy, it'd be great to double our budget and spend like drunken sailors. No, we don't want to do that. We're fiscally responsible. But you can see that gap between revenue and expenses is closing, and I think that's going to, and it has, I think on a national level, and I think especially state and local, communities are going to have to, out of necessity, have to start working together because you can't have, those separate things anymore,
Yeah, and to your point, I think this highlights the fact that, folks shouldn't take government services for granted because that is tied to the revenue that you're talking about. And so, yeah, it's nice to live in an area that maybe has a lower tax rate or lower millage rate. But are you receiving the services, and are you willing to sacrifice services in order to achieve that?
Correct. And that's one thing that, kind of been Norton Shores residents, have talked about, Spring Lake, for example. Oh my gosh, they have this unbelievable bike path and this unbelievable library, and they have this, that, and that thing. I said, yeah, we could have that too. Look at their tax rate. Look what they pay in taxes for that. Not saying that that's what we need to do, but that's an option. If you wanted that, and you, you travel. Everybody who travels around, you see communities, and you're like, holy cow, this is, there's not a blade of grass out of place, and everything's beautiful. And you're like, well, then you start to dig into it, and that's how weird my brain works. But then I'll start Googling and looking at tax rates and property values and those sort of things. And it's, it's all how that equation works and what spits out at the end. And it's no different than a personal budget, right? At home. I mean, you make this and your spouse makes this and you got these expenses, and that's our nut that we have every year to spend. And in municipal government's the same exact way.
Well, it goes without saying, and I do mean this sincerely, thank you for your service to Norton Shores, but more importantly, your service to the community. I mean, you are one of those faces that is well recognized beyond the borders of Norton Shores, and you're an incredible partner on the stage as well when it comes to emceeing, and so I couldn't do it without you for sure. But thank you for everything that you do.
No, we have fun, don't we? And it's, again, to me, that's the reward, right? Is to be part of the community, to try to help it, be it dancing with the local stars and helping with the food banks. And, you and I served on United Way to Board together, and, those sort of things. It's just, I just heard it the other day, and I can't recall who the quote was, but basically it's, I guess the paraphrase is, those who give receive so much more, right? And to help, whether it's, they always talk about time, talent, and treasure, right? So I give a lot of time. I don't know if I have too much talent, and I've got a little bit of treasure that we try to share. And, thankfully my wife and I were partners. She believes the same thing. We joke that we're the United Nations, or I joke that I own a business in Muskegon Heights. She owns a business in the city of Muskegon. I'm the mayor of Norton Shores, and obviously we live in Norton Shores. So that, it's all one community to us. And, to help each other and to help our neighbors, that's the real reward.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Gary, this has been an absolute pleasure. I always love spending time with you. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule today to be a part of this.
No, appreciate
program.
it. And thanks for, as I said before we went on air, I was concerned that this was going to be a hostile interview, so I appreciate you going prosecutor light on me, and
I kept it professional for the sake of the program.
Yes, exactly.
Later on this week, I'll roast you.
Perfect, awesome.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this episode of Muskegon Municipalities at Work. I really hope that you take the time to not only watch this, but all the episodes so that you really appreciate and understand how your local government is functioning and the things that you may not even recognize are because of your local government that you have. As always, this does not happen without the ingenuity of one Mike Vogus.